Now we're going to turn to some politics. From America's election headquarters, it's 4 questions for the next 4 years, our segment that gives you a chance to ask the presidential candidates about issues that most concern you. Today, our guest is Kentucky Senator Rand Paul. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Senator, it's great to have you on. We have a lot of great questions for you, including many about the budget. And recently, a video of you speaking about this budget that passed through the House and the Senate got a whole lot of attention, a bit of a viral hit, if you will. I just want to play a snippet of it for our viewers.
This is sort of like saying, all right, I have a pension fund. Let's say I have $100,000 in my pension plan, but I want to go to the racetrack. And I need some money this week, so I'm willing to take the $100,000 out, and I'm willing to pay a $30,000 penalty, but I'm willing to do it because I am an addict and I am addicted to spending, and I've got to spend the money now. That's what it is, and you're all guilty of it, right and left. You're going to take money out of the Social Security fund, and you're going to spend it on an immediate fix.
No gambling on this show, Senator. We don't allow it. But your criticism was heard loud and clear. A lot of responses online to that. Ben wants to know, how would you preserve funding for Social Security? Is that a priority for you?
One of the interesting things about that video is 21 million people have seen that video, and we have no idea how something like that gets started, but it's bigger than the entire debate. It's been bigger probably than any of the presidential debates have watched that one video, because I think people are upset about people taking money from Social Security and spending it on immediate concerns that have nothing to do with Social Security. This is why we're bankrupt. But really, it's right and left have bankrupted the country. You got right that wants more money for military and left that wants more money for welfare, and they get together, and I call it the unholy alliance. They're willing to spend money on anything. But for Social Security, I would fix it by gradually raising the age. Everybody knows the age has to go up. Let the age go up a couple of months every year for the next 20 years, and that fixes 2/3 of the problem with Social Security. And then people like myself who have done pretty well in life would get a couple $100 less through means testing when Social Security gets fixed. That fixes the entire problem, but somebody has to have the guts to fix it. Most people up here are basically wimps. They're unwilling to say this is what it needs to fix the problem.
You just said that the left likes to spend money on welfare and the right likes to spend money when it comes to military and defense. Jessica wants to know, Senator, list your priorities in a list, if you will, for us. And let's talk about that when it comes to money, because taxpayers certainly give the government a lot of money. Where do you think is priority number one for where that money should be spent, Senator?
The first priority needs to be that we should only spend what comes in. And that sounds like a simple proposition, but that's every American family does that. I don't know why government shouldn't do that. We bring in $3 trillion. That's an enormous amount of money. All I'm asking is we just spend $3 trillion. Now, if you break it down, what should we spend it on? We should spend it on what the Constitution allows. The Constitution has certain specific powers that were given to Congress. One of them is to defend the country. So I would give a priority to national defense. We do need to have a strong national defense, but it shouldn't be a blank check. We found out just recently that we spent $43 million on a gas station in Afghanistan. That does not help our national defense, should never happen, and I'm willing to stand up and say enough's enough. We're not going to spend $43 million on a gas station in Afghanistan.
How do you stop that from happening? Because we hear all those strange scenarios every year, almost every month, about strange studies we're investing on, and we hear a lot of politicians say they're going to stop it. But how would you do that as president?
I would let all the spending expire, and this is what I intend to do as a senator. I will advocate for letting all spending expire, and then the only spending that is renewed or started again would be through the traditional appropriation process, and it would take 60 votes. So many people lament, they say, oh, we need 60 votes to defund anything. We should actually turn the tables and say, you know what, let it all expire, and it will take 60 votes to start any spending. So a lot of offensive programs and wasteful programs like a $43 million gas station, those would not be renewed.
I'm getting a lot of questions coming in, a little bit more on jobs and the economy. I'm going to check those out in just a moment. But I'd like to get you to answer this question first, Senator. I had a flurry of different questions from viewers about the poll numbers. And we do have a new poll out from the Wall Street Journal today and NBC talking about where the candidates are at this very moment. You are trailing behind, and you've mentioned, you had this huge success online with this one viral video, but a lot of our viewers want to know is how do you translate that into numbers? What's your strategy moving forward to pull your poll numbers up?
We think we're underrepresented in some of the poll numbers because our strength is among the youth. And I've yet to meet a college kid that actually has ever done a presidential poll or a survey. Our strength is also with independents. Independents don't always get called because they're calling traditional Republicans. And our strength is also with the liberty movement within the Republican Party. I think if you combine the youth vote, the independent vote, and the liberty or libertarian wing of the Republican Party, I think there is a winning coalition. And so we are very well organized in Iowa and New Hampshire, and we're going to surprise a lot of people. The polls are still so early. Most all of these polls, they won't tell you this, but 2/3 of the people being polled in every poll are still undecided. So we think it's too early to give up on anything or to make any decisions.
What kind of challenges do you have fundraising, though, because the numbers are where they are? And certainly your points are well taken. One of the segments we're going to be doing on a little later on in the program is talking about how the leaders in the polls don't necessarily win. But as far as challenging for fundraising, Senator Paul, and being able to actually fiscally fund your campaign, what position are you in right now?
Well, we've raised over $20 million between us and our super PACs, and this places us about in the middle of the pack. I think the last time I looked, we were 5th. And so we have a very lean campaign. We have a very committed volunteer audience. And so we have a lot of people. I was just in Iowa and we had 60 people calling on the phone on a Saturday. But you know what? They were all volunteers. So we have an extraordinary upswelling of people who don't need to be paid. And we're bringing in more money than we're spending right now. And so I think we're in a pretty good position for the long haul.
Let me just ask you a final question here. We had a few more when it came to attendance and Marco Rubio and some of the candidates, but I'd like to skip over those because I see one from a viewer that I think is really important. When we look at any poll really across the board, viewers say that the economy is number one for them. And Peter just wrote us and he wants to know what your plan is for jobs in this economy.
I think we have to understand where jobs are created. I think they're created in the private sector. So I would leave more money in the private sector. I have a $2 trillion tax cut, which involves getting rid of the entire tax code, get rid of the IRS, and have a single card that you could fill out your tax return with one single rate of 14.5%. I think this would unleash an enormous amount of capital in the private marketplace. And I think what you'd see is a recovery and a boom like we haven't seen in a long time.
Senator Paul, nice to have you on the program. We appreciate you taking our viewers' questions. I know they have a lot more, so we hope you'll come back. Thank you very much.
Thank you.